Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our SaVeg take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello!
Hello, everyone!
And welcome back to this week's episode of the SaVeg podcast.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Daniel just got back from Montreal.
I did, guys.
He spent a week in Montreal.
The province of Quebec, for those that are not from Canada and don't know where Montreal is.
Yes.
Where have you been? It's one of Canada's most famous cities.
Yes, we only have about 4.
I know. So. This is very true.
Montreal is a city in our French province of Quebec.
But before we jump into that story about my little adventure, if you guys aren't already, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/SaVegPodcast. And also we have opened up YouTube memberships as well. So you can pick and choose which one you want to join. Each of them is the same benefits, but you get exclusive content every single month. You get ad-free content, and you get the content a week before everyone else. And it's like a nice little community over there. So check those out.
Yeah, join us on YouTube memberships or Patreon. The link is always in the show notes.
It sure is. So Montreal.
So Daniel went on which day? When did you leave?
So I left on Tuesday this week or last week.
So you spent a good.
I mean, it wasn't a full
almost a week.
Yeah, almost a week.
And how was it? You loved it?
I did. Like, there's.
Are you going to move there? Remember there was like a phase where, was it you? I mean, it was mostly me because I'm crazy. I was like, oh my God, I want to be like a dual city.
Well, we went through this whole thing where we wanted to be bi-city. Yeah. And we said, remember, we went as far as, guys, like we were like looking at properties, and we were like, me and Rose were like, should we co-invest in a property in Montreal? And then we could like live there for like 6 months of the year. And at the time, we wanted to like maybe Airbnb it out when we weren't there. Exactly. Like rent it for like the time that we weren't there. And
honestly,
then maybe
it was not a bad idea.
I know. And you know what the thing is? At the time that we were considering that, which was like right after we got back in 2021-ish, if we got a property then,
we would have made bank already.
We would have already made bank because the properties have all like skyrocketed in the last little while.
Yeah, I heard that Montreal also went up quite a bit.
Well, and I found even just like the cost of things out and about. Like I was shocked because like I never remember Montreal being like super expensive. Like I always found when I went to like Toronto or Vancouver, I always like found it more expensive than Calgary overall. But Montreal, I felt like whenever I went, it was like on par almost, I feel like, with Calgary. And then all of a sudden it's like, it just seemed way more expensive. I don't know. It just seems like things have gone up a lot there. Like even just getting like a latte or like anything, it just seemed like a lot more than what we would spend here, like a couple dollars extra for everything, you know?
But do you think it's the extra tax?
I don't know what it could be, but like, you know.
So we live in Alberta, so our tax is, we only pay GST. That's the only benefit of living in this goddamn province. Yeah. So our tax is only GST, which means we only pay 5% tax whenever we buy stuff.
Yeah.
But every other province basically has an extra tax. Yeah. Usually it's like, what is it? Like PST, HST, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
So then usually when you go to another province, you end up paying another almost 10% sometimes.
Yeah, it can be almost 10%. Usually it's like 7 to like.
Yeah, so what is it in Montreal? Do you know?
I actually don't know off the top of my head, but see. I don't know. I just felt like everything just seemed way more expensive than I remember.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Like it wasn't like out of this world, but it was still just like.
Well, I think things have just gotten more expensive in the last like few years.
This is true. Yeah. The last like 2 to 3 years has been unprecedented inflation. Right. So it makes sense. Like just like basic things. Like I went to this one place to get breakfast, and just like the most basic plate of like waffles. It was like these like little like sweet waffles with like a little bit of blueberries and shit. It was really small, and that was like $22. Oof. That was before tip, before tax, before everything. It was $22. And then the latte was like another $8. So that was like $30 just for that, plus everything else.
I feel like that's kind of normal nowadays, honestly. If you go to a restaurant and you sit down, you're going to pay $20-something, even if it's like the most basic thing.
That's true. It's like
I don't think it's a Montreal thing. I think you're just going out to eat.
That's true. That's very true. And I cook a lot in Calgary, so that's probably what it is. Probably like, fuck.
And also, it says here, so Quebec residents have a GST, which is 5%, and then Quebec sales tax, which is basically 10%. So you're paying an extra 10%.
Right. Okay. So then that makes sense. That makes sense
Yes.
why everything does seem like a little bit more pricey. And you're right. Like it's just inflation has gone up so much. Like I went out to get sushi for myself. And sushi generally you're gonna pay a bit more anyway.
Yeah.
But I got like a couple rolls. I had like a starter. I did have a glass of wine.
Oh, so nice.
It was really nice. I just
love a little sushi night.
Oh, it was so nice because like this is what Calgary is missing is like vegan restaurants that you can go to in the evening that have ambiance, that have like you can have drinks there, and it's like a whole vibe.
There's not many of those here. Yeah.
No, and then also just like sitting there being surrounded by people all speaking like different languages and like it just felt so like European, you know. It was so nice. And then the people, everyone's like anyway, I digress. The sushi night cost me like I don't know, like $85 or something. I don't know, it seemed like a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me.
My life.
Well, it does shock me every time I go out to eat now, even here in Calgary. Every time I go out to eat or do something, every time I look at the bell, I'm like,
Wasn't it you that was saying to me like it was like one of the chains that we have here? You went and you got like a couple drinks and then food, and you're like, fuck this. It was like for mediocre shit.
Yeah,
and it was like $200.
It was like $100-something for 2 people.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it, we barely had anything. It was lunchtime.
It is actually getting unreal now. Like it's becoming to the point where like, especially when you're going out to eat as a vegan, and it's like a lot of the options are like mediocre at best when you go to restaurants that aren't vegan. And so like it's like I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, oh, do I even bother going out? Like it's just so expensive now. Like you get one drink in a meal. Like if you get an alcoholic drink,
I know.
it's gonna be $40 at least.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's like
I know, it's so expensive. So expensive. Yeah.
But anyway, so Montreal, like I don't know. I love the vibe there. The people are so nice. At least the people I met, like I would just
the French Canadian.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Le français.
Ouais.
Le francophone.
Oh ouais.
Daniel, if you move to Montreal, you're gonna have to fucking.
I'm gonna take French classes. Okay.
Oh ouais. It's not gonna fly there. Okay. Oh ouais. What the fuck is that?
You know the best way to learn a language, Rose?
Immerse yourself.
Fully.
Oh god.
Including in the bedroom.
Oh my god.
So I'm gonna meet a
What's
French.
with you and the French fetish?
When have I ever had a French
I don't
fetish?
know. You're very much like, oh my god, the French.
I think it was more I had a Spanish fetish, Rose.
Oh, you definitely had a Spanish fetish.
I think what it is, guys, I'll be honest with you, like I think it's just like anything
different than standard white Canadian.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I feel like it's just like it adds a flair to a relationship. It makes it a little bit more exciting and like I don't know.
You want something better than just basic white toast.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
You know, basic white boy that doesn't like to go out to like that likes.
I think you're putting the French Canadians on a bit of a pedestal here.
Oh my god. Okay, so. I was just saying, like, obviously, other
like you
things
just want
matter.
something a little bit different than what we see around here.
Exactly.
Is what you mean?
Because I'm sure a lot of those French Canadians are also like very basic. Some of them.
Yeah, this is what I mean. You know, they're very much like, oh putain.
Yeah, and you're like, no, thank you.
Putain.
Gross. But yeah,
I do love Montreal.
Yeah, it's just you know what I love about it? It's like it just has. How to describe it? It's like it just has so many vibrant communities, you know, like you just like walk around and it's just a beautiful city to walk around. Like you go down a side street and there's all these like cool houses with like cool stairways that go up to them and beautiful, and like then you go around a corner and there's like a little local cafe with people sitting outside, and like I don't know, just everywhere is just so
it's just an older, so like Quebec, that area is older so than like the rest of Canada basically.
Yeah.
So you can feel that kind of vibe a lot more. You can kind of feel a little bit more of that historic vibe.
Yeah.
So it feels a lot like, it kind of feels like you're in, you know, Europe.
Oh, 100% it does.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what we like about it, because the rest of, you know, Canada is very much more modern.
Yeah.
And it can just feel very basic and sad and just...
Well, and I feel like, and I don't know if this is true per se because I don't live there, but it feels like their government has taken the time to like really, like for a lot of the historic buildings, they like cherish them and value them. Whereas I feel like a lot of other places in North America, they just fucking tear them down and build a skyscraper. They're like, oh, we don't need it anymore. Boom, done. You know, like, so we actually lose a lot of those because like there's areas of Calgary that probably could have been really amazing,
Totally.
but we've lost a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about the French Canadians. They know how to preserve their French heritage.
That's true.
If there's one thing they know how to do, because they fought for the right to, you know, have French as, you know, the official language and all that stuff. They have all these laws in Quebec where I think you have to have French first in every business or whatever. And even in all of our Canadian products, it's French and in English.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure without the Québécois, we would not have that.
100% we would.
So they definitely have a lot more pride in their French heritage and their culture
100%.
than the Anglophone, you know, people that don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, you see it there, you feel it there. And like in regards to like moving there, I'm just like, I think from my perspective, the thing is, I would love to, and I'm contemplating maybe in the future, who knows, but like, because I think the issue is like Calgary, I don't necessarily like want to move from Calgary in a way, because I do like Calgary.
You like a little status quo.
Yeah, but
you like a little status quo.
it's not even just that. I think to myself, I'm like, yeah, I guess I got my house here. I got my life is pretty easy here, and then I can use this as like a good home base to like then travel and do other things, which I really like. And I just think like the part of my life that I'm like nervous about is like obviously with dating in such a redneck conservative ass city. It's like everybody's conservative. Everybody's fucking, you know, there's so many closet cases and people that are like fucking wild, and like there's just not a big community here either. Whereas like you go around in like these bigger cities like Vancouver and Montreal, it's like, you know, there's like gay couples holding hands. Every other fucking table at a restaurant is a gay couple. Like, I literally went for sushi. I like landed, went straight to Sushi Momo because I wanted to like get there before it closed. And why
is it always we go there right before they close?
I know it's weird.
Anyway,
it's like a tradition, I guess. I'm like, fuck it, I got to get there. And so I sat down at this table. The table behind me was a gay couple. Table in front of me was a gay couple.
You'd be surrounded by the gays.
And then the one next to me was a heterosexual.
Unfortunately.
You know, yeah. But I was like, holy shit. Like, it's just like, you know, it's just there. And nobody, like, it's like very open-minded, very like, I don't know. I just felt it's like very nice.
Yeah, Calgary, there's something off about the gay scene here.
Oh, it's just terrible.
Off as in it doesn't exist.
I know. It's like, how can a city, like, for example, like I lived in Newcastle in the UK, and it's like, it's a small city. It's like smaller than Calgary.
I know, but you can't really compare because Newcastle is a lot more like
condensed.
But
but also still for that size of the city, they had a huge, vibrant gay district.
Right.
Like multiple bars, but also people drink a lot there too.
Yep.
there's a bit of that too. People love
know.
their beverage. So maybe it's a little bit more progressive or something, but it just blows my mind that in a city of this size, like we literally, from my entire like growing up, pretty much we only have like a handful of gay bars.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Now we only have basically, well, I guess we have a few, but maybe like one main one.
We have like the main club.
And that one's like already kind of dead.
Oh God, and I don't like it. And then there was another one that opened for a while, then it closed. Then there's another one that was closed. And then there's another one that's a kind of like a, you know.
Seedy one?
Yeah.
For the old gays?
For the older gays.
Somewhere where you might be visiting in about 20 years?
Oh my
30 years? Nothing wrong with that.
I know.
The old gays got to have fun too.
Well, this is it, right? But I think like, yeah, anyway. So long story short, let's see what happens.
It's a possibility.
It is a possibility. Who knows?
I mean, it would be fun.
It would be super
I feel
cool.
like even if it wasn't just for dating, like Montreal would be a fun city.
Even just to live there for a year would probably be pretty
Especially
cool.
if you are single.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, not even if you're in a relationship, it'd be really fun. But especially if you're single. This is the thing with Calgary. This is not a city for singles. Okay.
No, that's another thing.
It is not fun as a single person in this fucking city. Okay. People are all living boring lives in the suburbs, doing not much. There's not much to do. Like there's not much liveliness. And it's fine if you're like in a couple, you like to go to the mountains, you like to have, go out to eat once in a while. You go to the bars. Like there's enough of that. But like if you're single,
I feel like Calgary, there's like a window, right? Like I feel like from uni, right? Like in uni days, from like 18 till about 25.
Sure.
Obviously, you can go clubbing, you go to the bars. It's like fun. There's lots of people around your age all doing it. And then it's like this weird thing happens at around 25.
Whoa.
Oh my! I don't know what happened there. This weird thing happens at like 25 in this city, and it's like all of a sudden everyone couples up super fast. Everyone moves out to the suburbs and buys a place, and like the city just like dies.
It just dies.
Yeah.
I blame. What do I blame, Daniel?
capitalism? No.
Well, partially, yes. Car dependency.
Yes. Well, 100%. That's another thing too, is Montreal has a very good transit system. So like they have the trains everywhere,
It's just
buses
more,
everywhere.
yeah. And I think part of it maybe is the fact that it is an older city. So like the downtown area, the middle area, whatever, is like a lot more vibrant. It's a lot more connected. It's walkable in a lot of places.
Yeah. This is the thing, guys. The second that you have more walkable spaces, like this is just, it's like not rocket science here, and this is what blows my mind with, especially when it comes to like city planning and stuff. Like city planners, what the fuck are you doing?
I almost feel like maybe they think it's too late in a lot of cities.
I think that's probably part of it. I think that because you hear about them starting to plan and think about these things now, because like we're starting to see it a little bit in Calgary of like densification of communities and like trying to bring more like high streets or like shops and like things like this with rezoning and everything. But the issue is, you create a city like Calgary or like any North American model city, it's like they focus so much on everybody needs to be in these big, huge houses way out in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And so nobody can effectively walk anywhere. Like you couldn't, like, even in the suburbs, like you get a house and maybe the closest coffee shop is like a 40-minute walk away. You know? So it's like there's no walking. So you have to drive everywhere. And as soon as you have to drive everywhere, you have to worry about parking. And as soon as you have to worry about parking, it's going to limit it. It's what do they call it? You know, like humans are lazy by nature. So like you always want to remove any barriers to do things, right? And if a barrier is you got to get in your car, go out, you got to park. Oh my God, you got to find parking downtown, which is a nightmare.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it, right?
You're not going to do it.
And then it kills anything. Likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kills any sort of, vibrancy, any sort of culture. And I think even nowadays, maybe they're trying to create, which is better than nothing, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But now what I notice is like all these communities so Calgary is like an urban sprawl, okay? So all of these communities are like fucking miles away. You have to get on the highway to get on whatever. And honestly, it's not as bad as like a lot of American cities I've seen, which is like an extra like giant urban sprawl, right?
Yeah.
But Calgary is also like a urban sprawl.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and then what I notice is all these communities that are super fucking far away from like downtown, what they do is they create their own little like kind of, I guess maybe it's like a 15-minute city. Not that you can access everything, but you have maybe like, and it's all fucking chains too. This is another thing that fucking annoys me. It's just like a big strip mall with, that might be a little bit walking distance. I don't know, but there's like maybe one bar, maybe one like grocery store, which is fine, but I also just like, I just detest the idea of that as well, because then you're only surrounding yourself mostly with people only in that area, in the same income bracket, in the same sort of.
Well, and I think the problem with that too is there would be no problem with that, because it kind of makes me think a little bit of London and how they have like cities within cities.
True.
The issue though is that they're not interconnected with transit.
This is what
right?
I mean.
So like if it was all interconnected, it's like, hey, if there was a cool bar in, let's say, Sage Hill, and I could take the train to get there, I'm just using it as an example. Like there is another really fucking far community, and I could just hop on a train, and there's like let's say there's a trendy jazz bar there. Well, guess what? If I could hop on a train and be there in 30 minutes, I might consider going, because it makes it that much more interconnected. But when you remove that, and it's just, they literally build these like hubs only for the people in that within that community. And what happens is that community then just is insular to that little area, doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah. And it kills like anything else.
Exactly.
So yeah,
and
this is the bane of my existence. I hate it.
And I hate that they're all chains as well. That's another thing too.
Oh God, the North American model is so boring. Why are we like this? Why are we like obsessed with fucking chains?
I know, it's so dumb. And then like that's another thing I loved about Montreal though, is like, yes.
Are you okay? You look like you're gonna puke there.
I thought I was going to there for a second.
God damn.
The thing with Montreal is, at least from where I was, I didn't see the whole city, and I don't know what it's like.
And we are glorifying it a little bit, because obviously we only see, the good stuff when we're visiting.
Because we go to the tourist area. The beautiful streets, and I'm not out like in the fucking suburbs.
Did you go on Montreal, the hill thing?
I didn't go up it this time.
Oh God damn, you'd be busy drinking. And then you'd be dying now.
I'd be dying. But no, I did. I went through like the Plateau, like the
the Plateau,
Saint Denis, and some other places. Oh my
God.
God.
Denis.
Yeah, it was so nice.
God, I need to brush up on my French. Anyway,
we should go to Montreal, Rose.
Oh Lord Jesus.
I messaged Rose. I was like, you should do one of your tours in Montreal.
Oh, it's gonna cost $1 million.
That's true. But the thing with Montreal is like, even when you're walking around the downtown area, at least this is just my interpretation, and maybe I'm wrong, but I like still saw some of the chains, right? Obviously it's inevitable. You're going to have Tim Hortons there. You're going to have Starbucks. You're going to have McDonald's. You're going to have all these things. But it was way less than what I would see walking around Calgary. Because like Calgary's like Subway, A&W, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Montreal was like a lot of like more independence, I felt like. And that's what Europe was like. Like when I lived in Spain, I lived in a pretty decent sized city. I think there was like one Starbucks in the entire city because the only people that went there were the tourists. All the locals would go to the local like espresso bar or like get an Americano at like this cool like hole in the wall place.
I know. I don't understand the North American obsession with chains. I think it's just that chains, and I think unfortunately this is going to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with capitalism,
it's all capitalism, guys.
It's going to be very difficult for small businesses to succeed in a market where chains dominate because
100%.
They have billions of dollars to open up a business. Yep. When they say that when Walmart opens up somewhere, it like kills all the small business there.
Yep.
Because everyone's going to go to Walmart.
Exactly.
And that's just inevitable. And then the more that we push this kind of capitalist, culture, we're going to get less and less independent shops. Like even in this area where I live, there used to be a lot more, in my opinion, small, and there are still here. This is like a good area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, small businesses and stuff. But more and more I notice like a small business closes down, a chain opens up.
Yeah.
And I have no desire to go to like 80-90% of these places.
I know. And the crazy thing is, I feel like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because what I mean by that is like, you're right. A chain is always... Oh, God damn, Rose, you spill everywhere.
I always spill my tea.
Damn, you got tea running down your neck. And I think with the whole thing with chains and stuff, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And what I mean by that is like a Walmart, for example. It will come into a community and it does kill all the like local businesses.
Yeah.
But part of the reason it does that is, again, because consumers like ourselves,
I know,
we're also strapped for cash, right? So unfortunately, we're going to go to where there's cheaper deals, and we're always looking for, because we're all on tight budgets now, and it's like everything's getting more expensive, and I feel like it's gonna increase, right? Because before, the amount of disposable income that we used to have was more, and as that shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, for all of us, we're going to become more and more and more price conscious. And unfortunately, a lot of the big retailers and the big chains, because they have larger purchasing power and all this other shit, they can offer things at lower prices.
Yes.
Which sucks because I'd rather support like a mom and pop shop. But if my budget starts to get squeezed, I'm going to be like, fuck, I could get this at Walmart for like $5 cheaper.
Well, I don't even think that, let's just be honest here. I don't even think it's like, oh, my budget's getting squeezed, so I'm going to go to Walmart. It's just, it's cheaper at Walmart.
Yes.
Okay. So even if your budget wasn't being squeezed, you would still go to Walmart because it's cheaper there.
Exactly. Because you're going to be like, well,
that's just the human nature of it all.
Exactly. You're going to be like, hey, I can get this. I can get the exact same mug as this at the local, from the shop there for like $40, or go to Walmart, get the exact same one pretty much.
Yeah.
For like $30.
Anyways.
Yeah, it sucks. The whole thing is fucked up and sucks.
Anyway, should we talk about some stories?
We should. So, guys, maybe this time next year
you'll be in Montreal.
Yeah, we'll be recording virtually.
Oh, goddamn! You're gonna move to Montreal.
Goddamn!
Lord Jesus!
Lord Jesus, take the God-forsaken way.
Well, I would be sad if we were living apart, but I will support your decision and I will visit you as often as I can.
Thanking you, Roses. I appreciate.
Okay, well, first story. Should we talk about the Pope?
Goddamn, guys.
So, you say it?
Well, actually, I didn't personally know him. I didn't personally know him. So and I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. So, I think part of the reason this was like, well, obviously for the people that follow the Pope and everything, this has been like a huge.
So he just died today or yesterday? I
think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday?
And you know what's funny? It was like he just met with the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance.
Right.
And then apparently, like very soon after that, the Pope died.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh God, he had a visit with the Antichrist.
I mean, J.D. Vance could be possibly the Antichrist.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, yeah, he was 88.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to be fair,
he lived a long life.
You lived a good life. You're 88 years old.
You were the Pope.
You're
the messenger of Jesus.
Exactly. You be
messenger of the Christ.
You be the chosen one. And I think part of the reason why people are quite emotional about this one is I think up until this point, this was one of the most progressive or forward.
Yes.
Popes
people get emotional when popes die. It's just, there's a lot of Catholics in the world.
Yeah.
Pope is an important person in the Catholic Church. But yes, this one in particular, I do think if I were to be sad about any pope dying, it would probably be this one, because he was known to be a lot more progressive, progressive as you can be within a Catholic church.
Within the boundaries of Catholicism.
Yes, which is, not much. But he was a much more of a friend to LGBT community, for example.
Yeah.
A lot more accepting of, more progressive ideas. So it is kind of sad, because who knows who's coming next, right?
I know, it could be like a Trumper, but in the Pope version.
Exactly. I think based on the trajectory of the world,
I know,
that's very much a possibility.
Everyone's getting so much more extreme. It's
I know.
It's like
it's actually
fucking
terrifying.
Scary. I feel like it's nuts, because I know that there's a new season, which I haven't started watching yet, of Handmaid's Tale.
God, you love that show.
know,
There's a new season. How many seasons there be?
This be the last one.
God, they be continuing?
This is the final. I think this is the final season that closes up the series.
Okay,
and
so they ended the last one on a cliffhanger as well?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So there was 5 seasons.
Oh God.
And so I watched it. Oh my God. There's some you only watched the first 2, didn't you?
And it was years ago. So if I were to watch it, I think I'll need to rewatch from the beginning.
God.
But I don't know if I can. It's kind of emotionally damaging, to be honest with you.
So traumatic.
Yeah.
And there's some shit that goes down in the 3rd season that you haven't seen that's fucking crazy.
Oh God. Well, I don't know if I've seen the 3rd season. Anyway,
long story short.
Guys, wait. And while we are talking about shows, you need to watch Netflix Karma.
Okay.
So it is a Korean drama, but it is so good.
Okay.
And it's so fucked. But it's like a thriller. It's 6 episodes, and there's twists and turns. It's really good.
Damn. Okay.
I may have binged it in one day.
Also Hellbound season 2's out.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Lord Jesus. Yeah. That took about 10 years.
I know, everything's taking so fucking long.
Well, I think that one took a long time, because Hellbound was a show, or is a show, from Korea again. And the first season, I think it came out 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
And it was really good. And we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen in season 2? But I think what happened was the main actor, the one that plays God or whatever?
Yeah.
Not God, the fucking, cult leader or whatever?
Yeah.
I think him as an actor got in trouble for something.
Okay.
Something about drugs, because Korea's very anti-drug.
Right. Okay.
Even though it's a fucking nation of alcoholics. But anyways, I can say this, I'm Korean, so. But they're very much anti-drug. So he was probably maybe smoking some weed or something. I have no idea what it was, but it was something in my mind is minor.
Yeah.
But I think he got kind of disgraced. So I think maybe they had to find somebody else or change the story, whatever it was. I think I could totally be making this up, but anyway.
Right. Yeah. So what I was gonna say though is, I haven't started watching this new thing of Handmaid's Tale, but Handmaid's Tale is if you start watching season 1, season 2, it's there's flashbacks to and it was the US before, right? It was the US and what happened and how things slowly started getting more and more and more extreme.
Yeah.
And it's holy fuck, guys. This is fucking happening right now.
It's literally happening.
Yeah. So I'm who knows? Maybe they're all of a sudden Trump is gonna announce we're gonna rename this to be the state of Gilead. I couldn't
he'll call it Trumptopia.
Trumpville.
Oh God. Well, speaking of which, I think that ties in with one of our stories. Mm-hmm. So basically, right now, for the last few weeks or so, there's been massive protests, massive protests in the United States.
Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
Not really, no.
So essentially I think there's for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Initially, I think it happened because obviously Trump and Elon Musk, who was never an elected official, went into the fucking, treasury or whatever and started doing all kinds of illegal shit.
Yeah.
So people were like, what the actual fuck? Get Elon Musk out of there.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So that was one of the reasons I think people were protesting. But now it's kind of shifted a little bit. I'm sure it's still similar vibes, but basically what's been happening is Trump has been sending deporting people to El Salvador prison camps. Have you heard this?
No. Oh my God.
So, and without any sort of due process. So without any trial, without any, because in America, you're innocent until proven guilty,
Apparently
right?
not when Trump's in office.
No, exactly.
It's becoming a fucking dictatorship.
This is what people are saying. It's basically fascism right now. It says refuse fascism. And basically, he's been taking people that basically haven't committed crimes. Some of them, like, right,
Yeah.
some of them may have, but even
Yeah.
if they have committed crimes before, or even if they have criminal records, they have not gone through the proper processes in this situation to be like sent to an El Salvador camp. And why are these? It's like Guantanamo Bay, right? It's like, why are you sending them to El Salvador? Because obviously you want to do shit to them that maybe you can't do on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
Right. And like they know this part is illegal, like doing this kind of shit.
Right. Especially without a fair process and trial.
Exactly. So right now what's happening is there's a guy named Abrego Garcia. So this is like the current name that's been thrown around, but this is just one person. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the people are demanding the release and return of, his name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who's a Salvadorian citizen who lived in Maryland and was deported by the administration to a prison in El Salvador due to what the Trump administration said is an administrative error. So they accidentally sent him to El Salvador prison camp without any due process or anything. And then they like held him illegally or are still holding him illegally. And it says, while Donald Trump continues to defy the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court was like, you need to send him back. Like, this is fucking illegal.
Yeah.
And then he like they're still holding him illegally in El Salvador after being wrongfully deported. And so that's just one person. So the other people, again, they haven't gone through like proper processes and, actual, fucking trial and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So who knows how many people are there just because they're like, oh, he's, an illegal immigrant.
It's so fucked because like it's crazy. Everything that Trump is doing right now, all of this shit, it's happening so fast. It's happening so chaotically. Like even, you know what?
I think that's the strategy.
I know. And but you know what blows my mind about all this is there's still so many people that are behind him. And I'll be honest with you guys. Look, if the Trump administration had come forward, right? I'll use the tariffs as one example. They came forward, they explained their strategy, or not even their strategy, but like there seemed to be some sort of like thought or anything with regards to it. And like the tariffs is a perfect example of like, targeted tariffs make sense if certain industries, like if they came forward and were like, American steel industry has been struggling a lot. We want to try to like rebuild that industry. So we're going to put import tariffs on steel from other countries. Yeah. Okay, that's a targeted tariff. It still sucks, but I get it. I get what they're doing, right? To do this crazy shit where they're just like, and then one day there's tariffs, one day there's not. Then now you're like mass deporting people. And like, it just seems like it's, I don't understand how it can keep going on like this.
I don't know. I mean,
how people still support him, so blindly support him.
Yeah, I don't know, because they hate immigrants.
Yeah, and they're like, you hear about these people, and they're just like, oh yeah, this is just the blip in pain right now until we're MAGA.
Yeah,
making America great again, apparently.
But how? This is just like even beyond anything else. What he's doing right now, or what they're doing, like sending people to El Salvador, is like literally human rights abuses here
and violations.
Yeah, because we don't really know what's going on over there.
Yeah,
and
where is the control within, or where are the controls and checks and balances within the U.S. government?
Apparently none, because the Supreme Court literally said, hey, this is illegal, you got to send them back. And apparently they're still holding him.
Which is nuts. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know.
At what point can people say, okay, you've actually legitimately, like, where's the legal process where it's like, your president has violated X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
He can no longer be a president because he's not following the fucking rules.
Yeah, like, this is kind of, like, weird because it's like, okay, do we really live in any sort of democracy? I know it's kind of a joke, but, like, if we have any sort of democracy, this, like, you should be able to immediately remove him from office
100%
very quickly.
Yeah.
Because that would be the democratic process.
Exactly.
But it seems that it's very much impossible to even do that.
Yeah. What's happened is it's created all of this crazy shit, and people are just kind of like, oh, we're just going to ride it out and see what happens. It's like, well, you don't have to do that. You could just be like, Trump,
yeah.
Let's
vote him out.
Get the fuck out. Let's host a new election.
Yeah.
And get somebody else in. Like, it can still be, obviously there's like, maybe they still want to go Republican and stuff, but maybe they need a new representative that's actually going to have some kind of policies and things that make sense, like.
I just wonder, there's all these giant protests and people are showing up in like massive numbers,
Huge.
which is good.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, is something going to happen?
But this is it. It's like one thing to protest. It's like, that's what I mean when I'm like,
where's the action?
Where's the process? Where is the
I don't know.
legislation that's like, you break so many laws, you can't do X, Y, Z.
Yeah. Like, is there something like that? Or like, okay, how many people signed this, thing? How many citizens sign this thing.
Yeah, this like petition or whatever.
Will that get into some sort of a law? I don't know.
It's crazy. It's honestly, I just don't even know what to think about it anymore. And
I know I've almost like, I don't want to say I've checked out, but I've almost like been like, fuck, I don't want to look at this anymore because it's like,
but I'm almost at I'm at the point where I'm just like, okay, well, if nothing's going to change and Trump's going to continue being in office, like obviously, and this is what is happening. I feel like we're talking about like other global leaders and stuff. People are responding and they're like, okay, like the US is unstable. And that's why they're trying to like work out agreements and things that don't include the US, because they're just kind of like, look, this is getting fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to deal with you anymore. And I would be the same if that was my main business partner. Eventually I'd be like, okay.
Well, the US dollar is going down.
Yeah.
A little bit. Let me check actually. Let me see here.
This does kind of link up. We're going to talk about this other story in just a second, but I got to remember this economist's name because he's a famous economist. He does a lot of TikToks and stuff in the US. And
look, oh my God, it's actually really down.
Oh my God, it's
compared to both. I mean,
lot.
Well, to be fair, before it was when it was like bad. So in the beginning of the year, one US dollar was 1.38 Canadian dollar. Oh no, fuck, hold on. In the beginning of the year, one US dollar was 1.44 Canadian dollars. Yeah. Now it's 1.38. Yeah. So it has gone down quite significantly, even though it's still pretty fucking bad. But
but this economist that was talking about the US, he was saying with all this stuff that Trump is doing, these tariffs and everything else, and Trump keeps referring to the time in like when the US was like the biggest economic power.
Right.
Which, I mean, it still is the most like in terms of
You mean when it was like, you mean the time when there was like 3 people that owned all the money?
Exactly.
Yes.
He keeps referring to like the 1800s, early 1900s. And so this guy, and I'll find out his name one day, guys, because I keep talking about him on this podcast.
Is he American?
Yeah, he's an American.
Okay.
He's an American economist.
Okay.
And he's talking about it, and he's really good. I really like his some of his things.
Okay.
And he's just talking about it. And again, these are all just theories and whatever else. But he said the main thing that Trump's administration is not taking into consideration, or doesn't appear to be taken into consideration anymore, is that although the U.S. is a economic superpower, it is the largest economy in the world. If you look on a global scale, it is number one technically. What they're not realizing though is since the 1900s, right, we've had the rise of a ton of other economies, right? You look at China, and China is not far behind the US anymore, right? So it's like they're creeping up to soon surpass the US in terms of global buying power, everything else. You have a country that has 1 billion people that live in it, all, buying things, doing things,
with a very strong middle class compared to the United States.
They were saying the middle class in China actually is larger than all of the US.
Yep.
Because there's 350 million in the US. The middle class in China is bigger than that.
Yeah.
So they're saying like, just to look at like comparison terms. So maybe back in 1910, the US could do this, slap tariffs on everyone, and everyone would be like, shit, we're going to bow down to you.
Yeah.
Whereas now that he was referring to as like, we're entering into a new age, right? He's like, the US economy has been like becoming more stagnant over the last few years.
Yeah.
We're seeing the growth in like China and some of these other places. And actually what they're not considering is like, what's the word? Is that these countries, now can cooperate and work with each other and just exclude the US. And yes, the US does trade a lot and they buy a lot and everything else, but also you have this other huge markets now.
Yeah, and that brings us to that Chinese dude that kind of went viral on TikTok.
So good.
Which I was like obsessed. I was like, oh my God.
I love it.
Inject it in my veins.
I know, but you know what I love about him is the fact that he's just very like, you know what? He seems like he would be a great leader. Like he's a very matter of the fact, to the point, spits facts, by the way.
His name is Victor Gao. I don't even know what he is. It says he is a Chinese lawyer, businessman, and academic who is the vice president of the Beijing-based Center for China and Globalization.
Okay.
So he was doing this interview with somebody on BBC or something. I can't remember what it was. And the interviewer basically was like, well, there's like a little clip that went viral.
It was so good.
And it was basically like, well, because right now what's happening is I think like Trump said, again, I don't know what the fuck is up with the tariffs at this moment.
Yeah.
But I think the update was that he had all these tariffs removed from everyone except for China.
Yes.
So he's targeting China. And a lot of people are saying it's because China is a really powerful superpower.
Yeah.
And they are like kind of jealous of China. Let's be honest, a little bit, right? Anyway. So basically, he's like, Trump is still being like, okay, we're going to still put a bunch of tariffs on you. And China is not backing down. China's like, fuck this shit. We're going to do the same thing to you. So Victor, he was like on this panel or whatever, he's doing this interview, and the interviewer said, so, but like, this is going to be a big impact. I mean, about 15% of your economy comes from the US. And he's like, we don't care.
Yeah. It was so good because I think it was they said 15% of their exports.
Yes,
I think it was their exports. Yeah, they're like the U.S., which actually I'm surprised it's that low. Like I thought the U.S. would have consumed more of the
right.
But if you think about it, like any place you go, look at like half the shit in your house, guys. Made in China, made in China, made in China, made in China.
Exactly.
So obviously they have a lot of other buyers, but yet they said exactly that. They were like, isn't this concerning? 15% of your total exports is to the U.S. And he's just like, we don't care.
He's like, we don't care. The U.S. is not the total. I remember this. I watched this multiple times. Yeah. He's like, U.S. is not the totality of the world market. The world is a big place. Mm-hmm. And if U.S. wants to bully China, then be my guest. And I was like, oh, I love it.
Exactly.
And then he said, this is my favorite line. He said, and then she tried to like she tried to like ask him again. She's like, yeah, but 15%. And he's like, we don't care. He's like, China has been around for 5,000 years, and most of which US was not there.
Yeah.
So we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. And I think too, what was powerful, what he was talking about as well is, he was talking about, they've been around for this long, like it's fine. And then I lost my train of thought what I was going to say about him.
What he said? I think he said, basically he has no worries. And he's like, oh, what were you going to say? Were you the peasantry?
No, that's the next thing. But no, this is what he was also saying is, the fact of the matter is that 15, when he's like, we don't care, like the 15%, he's like, look, what the U.S. is doing, and this was not the clip that went viral as much. I watched a few more of his things. Yeah. He's like, look, what the U.S. is doing, he's like, look, we're not going to like sugarcoat this basically. He's like, of course, this is going to negatively impact China. But he's like, it's also going to negatively impact the U.S. It's also going to negatively impact a lot of other countries. He's like, but we're going to stand our ground. Like we're not going to sit here and let somebody slap us in the face and bow down. Like we are going to slap back. Like this is not, this is, if he wants to do this, and which he is, and he's pissing a ton of people off, like that is not gonna fly,
And then the vice president, JD Vance, the one that killed the Pope.
Yeah.
Apparently he said something like, oh, it's a country of peasants and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. He said, why do we need China to trade with them? Because he's like, we send stuff over there for the peasants to make it. And then we buy it back from them, blah, 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 all this shit. And I was like, this is crazy. And that's a fucking government official.
I know. He's the vice president of the United States.
This is what's fucked up, guys. Like, these are literally, like, you would think about it, it's like you're in a political place of power, and I get it. There's leaders that don't get along. There's leaders that are like conflicting and all of this other shit. But it's like, be respectful. Like,
I know.
That is crazy to be sitting there calling Chinese people peasants.
Yeah, and then the Victor guy was like, you know what? I'm proud to be the son of a peasant. We all come from farming. We all come from, these backgrounds.
Yeah.
But we are now a global superpower. We have, and they really are. And I think a lot of people are just realizing that China is a lot stronger and a lot more economically viable than we might even realize.
Well, I mean, look at like so many, and obviously China has its own problems and everything else, whatever.
Oh, definitely.
But look at like simple things, like for example, like, and I think what we forget about is just the size of the market in China, right? Like the US, Canada, UK, and Australia combined is smaller than the Chinese market. The Chinese market is huge. You have 1 billion people living there, or probably more at this point. And so they can, and like granted their government is like kind of, they're like, oh, we don't want certain things in here and we're banning like WhatsApp and whatever, but they make their own products like to compete and everything. And because they have the market share.
And it's fucking huge.
It's fucking huge.
And you know what kills me as well? Somebody was talking about this and I can't remember who. And it's basically like this whole like, oh my God, because Trump's whole shtick, I don't even know if he believes these words, is like, oh, these other countries have been taking advantage of us.
Yes.
We've been buying all this stuff from them and blah, blah, blah. They're not buying our stuff. They're killing our manufacturing. I'm like, you brought the manufacturing over there
this is what
because
kills
you
me.
wanted the cheap labor and the cheap products over there so that you could sell it to the current market in the US for cheaper so you could pocket all the profits. I don't understand what your issue is now.
I know, it's crazy. Actually, this is the story I was going to talk about.
Yes.
It came back to me, guys. Ties in with all of this.
Uh-huh.
So there's another thing going viral on TikTok all about this exact thing.
Yes.
Called what are they calling it? They're calling it the luxury brands.
The Chinese like you mean the Chinese manufacturers that are like, look at this Birkin that we made in the Chinese factory for $500.
It's funny because exactly that. So basically what the way China is or some of the manufacturers are retaliating because they're like, fuck you guys. Same thing. All of these like name brand designers, not all of them, but a lot, have outsourced their manufacturing to China and other parts of Asia because it's cheaper labor.
Yes.
They can make it for cheaper and then sell it for a fucking huge ass profit in the US. So that's what a lot of them, that is their business model. That's how so many people in the US became billionaires and millionaires. And the crazy thing is, so there's this new thing called like, I can't remember if it was like luxury talk or I don't remember what it was, but like these companies are being like, hey, here our manufacturing plant makes all of these products, Lululemon, Nike, here, buy it from us directly.
Yeah.
We will ship it to you and we'll do it for you at cost.
Right.
Or not at cost, like a little profit.
A little bit more.
And people are losing their shit because they're brands that they're like shocked. Well, it's not that shocking.
I don't know why people are shocked. We should know this already.
Exactly. But like a lot of these like name brand, like a Birkin, for example, that sells for so much money. And it's like you can buy one for like $1,000.
Yeah. And
direct from retailer.
You know what I also heard that they do? I also heard that. So basically, you know how like obviously when you buy these luxury bags, like they don't really say, they're not going to say made in China. It'll say like made in Italy.
Yeah.
But what I heard that they do is a lot of these companies, these luxury brands, they will get China to go and like make the majority of the thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll send it to like Italy or something to maybe finish up something.
Yeah. Maybe do like a little stamp on the leather.
Made in Italy.
Yeah.
But really, majority of it was made in China.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we've all been fooled. But like the thing is like you all benefited from it. It's like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It's like, how are you going to bring back these jobs that you sent overseas because you knew that Americans didn't want to do them?
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to pay them, you know, a decent wage and still keep the cost low.
And you know what's crazy? It's like, okay, you're targeting manufacturing in particular, right? Because they're talking about, we want to build up the manufacturers and blah, blah, blah. What about all of these U.S. companies, all of them that are outsourcing their call centers to the Philippines, to Asia? Are those jobs coming back to the US? Are you going to start creating tariffs on those companies that are outsourcing their labor? Like really, if you want to start talking about this, like let's have an educated conversation as to the global economy and what your companies are doing in the US. And again, it's no fault. Like they were legally allowed to do it. So they did jobs where they sent like call centers to the Philippines, right? Like
I feel like that would make more sense to be like, why don't we bring back those jobs? Because it's like the manufacturing, in my opinion, makes literally no sense because it's like there's going to be so much more that you need to invest as like a company.
Yeah.
You have to build literally a fucking factory.
Yeah.
Hire people to work in the factory for I don't know how much.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are things that other countries can just do better and like for cheaper. And like, you know, we can talk about the labor and like there are obviously ethical issues with that as well. But it's like, why don't we bring back, like the call center jobs? Yeah.
But what do people think when the manufacturing jobs come back to the US, right? Like, so like, let's just like think of the Birkin bag, for example, right? So we're talking about how they're making it in China. Maybe, you know, the company can ship it back to the US and it costs them like, I don't know, all in like $800 to manufacture it. And then they sell it for like, I don't know, $6,000. You know, like
$6,000. Try like 20 grand.
Let's say 20, right? So they build in this massive fucking profit, all this stuff. Do we really think that once those get shipped, once that manufacturing moves to the US, they have to pay minimum wage of US salary? Yeah. They have like a lot more.
To be fair, is not that high.
No, it's not that high. Plus all of the parts that need to get shipped in, maybe some of those are tariffed because they come from other countries and you can't physically produce them in the US because you don't have the right materials. So all that gets shipped in, blah, 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 blah. What's going to happen? Do you think that they're really going to eat that out of their profits? So all of these companies that were making like, you know, maybe, you know, $5 billion a year, now they're going to eat that loss and make $2 billion?
Of course not.
It's
that's the thing. Maybe put a cap on the profit. No.
So it's just there's so many facets to it.
Yeah,
and
I just don't get it.
I know, and
it's
it's crazy. Like even thinking like we talked about the call center jobs, other jobs. There's a lot of companies, even their tech and IT teams, they're moving out to like India and all these places. I'm like, okay, well maybe bring those jobs back.
Yeah, would honestly make more sense.
Yeah.
That would just make a lot more sense.
But the companies don't want to do it because they could pay somebody out in different countries a fraction of what they pay someone in the U.S.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with the manufacturing. So I don't get it.
I know. It's just.
I know. I don't understand. I actually don't understand.
I'm really nervous because we talked about this before even Trump got elected and stuff, and how capitalism was already on this weird tipping point of like, we've reached this like late stage capitalism hitting like certain growth, and then now we're seeing like mass layoffs and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden Trump comes in and just like fucks everything. And now I'm like, what is going to happen?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I'm scared as hell, guys.
I don't know. It's going to be a long 4 years. Let me tell you this.
Oh my God. And
it hasn't even been half a year yet.
Let's get him out. Okay.
Guys, you could do it, Americans. I believe in you. You can get him out. Impeach him.
I know. And that was another thing too. There's a lot of, and I've seen more and more of these TikToks of like American businesses or like people. I think there was one from California where they were just like, not protesting, but like trying to appease to Canadian tourists and stuff that were like, guys, we're not like the rest of the US, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guys, we're not protesting you.
Yeah.
We're protesting your fucking government and the fact that Trump is doing all of this crazy shit. Because you know what? I personally, with all this stuff going on, I don't feel safe anymore as a Canadian to go down to the US.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to get deported or fucking sent to El Salvador.
Oh, God.
Like that's what I have no idea. Exactly. And then I get stuck there.
You'll probably be fine because you'll be a white boy.
Well, I mean, this is true.
You'll be a white boy, so you'll be fine.
But as soon as they hear me talk, they'll be like, he's a homosexual. Send him to China.
Oh my God.
Like it's crazy what's happening and I'm scared.
Anyway, so the Canadian elections are next week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think it's already pre-elections or whatever.
Yeah,
it's literally happening next week though.
Yeah, they did like what do they call it? Like a
what's it called?
Pulse check.
Well, no, I think people are actually able to vote right now.
Yeah, early votes were the 21st. I thought today is the early votes, or maybe.
Oh, so is this so? You mean like the predictions are based on the early votes?
I'll have to double check. Maybe it was last week.
What do you mean? What was last week?
No, I think you're right. I think maybe the
so election is next week on the 28th. So by the time this comes out, we probably would have already found out who the prime minister is, the new prime minister.
Damn. And what's it looking like at the polls, Roses?
Well, apparently, I mean, I don't know. I don't trust polls anymore. I'm really just like, I have no hope.
Faith.
Well, it's funny because literally it has been a historic kind of turn because when Trudeau was in office still,
people hated him.
People fucking hated him.
Oh my God.
Because they blamed him for everything. But Trudeau has his faults, okay?
Yes,
don't get me wrong.
He definitely does.
But anyway, so people fucking hated him. So the polls for the Liberals, it was like if they had an election at that moment, Conservatives would have won in a landslide, okay?
For sure.
Wouldn't even have a chance. So then Trudeau did the right thing, I believe, and stepped down. And then Mark Carney came in and he's filling in basically for the prime minister, essentially. He is technically the prime minister right now.
Yeah.
But now they're having an election. And because the one thing good about Trump's antics and the insanity that is Trump. And I think that's a big reason as to why, but also because Mark Carney is a lot more popular than Trudeau right now. It could just be, a honeymoon phase. Who knows, right?
Right.
And also because Mark Carney did the two things that, Canadians were complaining about, which is getting rid of Trump. Well, Mark Carney didn't do that, but Trudeau.
Yeah.
Trudeau was, gone. So that's like half the Canadians' fucking worries.
Yeah.
And then the carbon tax.
Yes.
So Mark Carney got rid of the carbon tax.
Yeah.
Which is the two things that the Conservatives were complaining about for the last fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So then they have not much to campaign on, essentially, I guess.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, again, this is I saw this ad. It was like a parody ad and it was like, oh, Canadian elections. Oh, it's that fun time again where you vote for shitty and shitty light. So
that's hilarious.
But apparently it says Canadian elections race tightens, but Liberals still ahead in final week. So right now what's happening is Liberals are actually ahead on the polls, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But it speaks to, I think a lot of people are afraid of a Trump 2.0 situation.
Right. Yeah.
And we are afraid because to be fair, Pierre Poilievre, who's the running candidate for Conservatives, he's endorsed by, I don't know if he's endorsed by Trump, but he's definitely endorsed by Elon Musk and shit like that.
Yeah.
From, people that are on that camp.
Yeah. So there's probably a lot of people that are even if I was going to vote conservative right now, I don't want to because I don't want all of a sudden to become the 51st state.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of people that just vote conservative because you know how it is.
Yeah.
But I do think there's going to be, I don't know how it's going to be. I'm scared.
I know, it's kind of crazy.
I actually think I'll be depressed if conservatives win, to be honest.
And one thing to note, guys, because I realized this, we were just talking about this before we got on the podcast, is the colors for us are flipped. So if you see in Canada, it's like the Liberal or like the Democrat, I guess, party is actually red.
Yes.
And the conservative or Republican is actually kind of like a darker blue. And this threw me off because I saw the like charts and stuff. And I was like, because I saw this, somebody was like, oh, we're getting on the same page, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought the conservatives were winning. And I was like, oh, God, okay, this is interesting. And then I realized afterwards, I was like, oh, shit, they're flipped. So
yeah, they are for sure, right? Let me double check colors. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I was also confused. I get confused all the time.
Yeah, no, I think I saw.
God, like, why do they have to do it literally the opposite? Hold on, let's see. Colors for Canadian political. What the mother of Christ?
What the hell? You doing some coding on the side,
no.
Roses? That'd be scary as hell.
No.
Yeah, so conservatives are blue.
Yeah, it's so confusing. Liberals are red, conservatives are blue in Canada.
Yeah.
And in the US, it's basically the opposite. Republicans are red.
Yeah.
And Democrats are blue.
Yeah.
So it's flipped.
It is flipped.
So
that
if you see a big
off.
red thing, that means it's liberals.
Yes.
Anyways, I mean, yeah, I just think it's like somebody was doing like a street interview and this old lady was just like, I'm voting liberal because I can't vote conservative because she said something like, I don't always agree with the liberals, but I'll take not agreeing with them. But with conservatives, I'm afraid. And I'm like, it's true. This is the thing. It's like, I don't know. It's just going to get worse.
I know it's getting more,
in my opinion.
Things are getting more extreme, guys. Mm-hmm. Everything's like going crazy and like, I don't even know.
Anyway, we should just get drunk and be happy.
I should just move to Montreal, eh?
Yeah.
Live out my last.
That sounded very Canadian, eh?
It did. Live out my last year before the whole earth like fucking
Stop!
goes into chaos and the fabric of society as we know it completely crumbles. So.
And on that positive note.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode, guys.
I mean, I would say vote, but most of you would have already voted and we would already know the prime minister. So
that's right, guys.
We'll find out. But if you are early, if you're listening, if you're one of the members, make sure you go and vote.
Yes.
Try not to allow us to have a Trump 2.0 situation.
Oh God, yes, please.
We're gonna go and vote.
You be voting, right, on Monday, bro?
I'll be voting.
Okay, good.
I'll be voting. I know where the voting office is.
Oh, did you get your little slip?
Yeah, I got
good
the
job.
slip.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
It's important. Us young people. Well, youngish now. We need to vote.
Yeah, let's go vote, you guys.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you join us either on YouTube memberships or Patreon. Once again, you can just click the join button on YouTube if you're watching. And join us on YouTube if you want some exclusive content, ad-free content, and every episode a week earlier than everybody else, and a little shout out in the beginning of the show, and the same perks for Patreon as well. And anything else, Daniels?
Yes, so if you are listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to hit that follow. Then you get updated as soon as new episodes go live.
Lovely.
And that's it.
All right, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.